Welcome back to the channel, little flexers. Thank you so much for clicking on today's video. My name is JW Creewall, aka FlexDaddy. This is the best place to be to learn about the Pokemon TCG and have some fun along the way. But today is a little bit more of a serious video. Recently, Andrew Mahone posted a video talking about TCG Live, which is the new client for the Pokemon trading card game, calling it essentially a failed project by Pokemon. And I haven't seen this video yet, so I wanted to watch it and kind of react to some of the stuff that he's saying, because it's just something that's affecting him and it's affecting all the other content creators. It's affecting me. I'm getting a lot of comments about PTCG Live in my other videos. Hey, PTCG Live is unwatchable. I wish I could interact with your channel, but I just can't watch. I have people telling me that they only hang out with my streams for the first half hour when I'm just chatting with viewers, and then they leave when I actually start playing the game. And so it's something that I need to address, and I'm going to try to do that in this video through reacting to Andrew's content, because of course Andrew has a more vested interest than I do. I mean, it's literally his job to make this content. For me, it's a side hustle, it's a hobby. But for him, it's a way of life, like quite literally. And so when he speaks on this, it's really important for people to listen. But it certainly has affected me, and I know it's affected a lot of you out there as well. The hard thing about this is that while I agree with certain points, I know that there are other people on the other side of the screen reading the comments as well. So developers that I know, on a personal level, people that work at the Pokemon company that I know that are reading these comments and watching these videos. And I just feel, I want to extend kind of some sympathy there. I feel like I'm a very forgiving person. And I just this is not meant to be an attack on anyone at Pokemon. I mean, I'm not going to turn it into an attack, but like the whole fiasco, the whole kind of uproar about PTCG Live is not meant to be an attack. It's very passionate from the content creators, from the top down, that something has to change, or something maybe not has to, but at least should change if we want to achieve objectives of growing the game. I think that's the biggest thing. We're all unified in the idea that we can all come together and grow the game, and PTCG Live was kind of supposed to be that, right? Like ideally, when we first learned about it, okay, maybe it didn't look the greatest, but it had, interesting aspects to it. It's, developed in-house. So ideally it could be, patched up quicker, and, issues could be taken care of quickly. It had, the promise of a new crafting system, which was supposed to be better for players of all levels. And so, when we get the final product and it's just kind of lifeless, and the crafting system isn't even particularly favorable if you don't have codes to begin with. So it's just, there's a few failings here with the client. Maybe they will change in the future. I don't know, but we all just want what's best for the game. And so I'll take a look here at what Andrew has to say and give some thoughts along the way. So here we go.
Love you, Tricky Jim, but the Pokemon Trading Card Game Live is just unwatchable. I can't stand the layout. It looks like a sign-in sheet at the doctor's office. So bland. I'm curious, does anyone think that the Pokemon Trading Card Game Live looks and feels fun to play compared to other games in the genre? I continue to be astonished that this client got approved by anybody.
This is an interesting poll that Andrew put out, because fun to play can mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people. For me, it doesn't have the same impact when you play cards. So like PTCGO at least had some little animations, kind of actually similar to the video games, right? Like you would do something in the game, take a knockout or attack, and then it would have some little animation, and maybe it might jiggle the screen a little bit. Like there was impact to the cards that you played. But sadly, we just don't have any of that with PTCG Live. And okay, so maybe there's like some kind of minimum viable product, but you would hope that they're past minimum viable product by the time they get to a beta. That they have kind of a strong sense of where the game's going to go, the feel of the game. We just haven't seen that. So this is a really interesting poll, whether or not people are just trying to dunk, because I think some of this too, I'll be a little bit apologetic on this as well, but like I think some of this Twitter outrage is really fueled by, okay, I want to be part of the in crowd. I want to, go along with the flow. And, there's certainly some things that could potentially be positive about PTCG Live, but we'll maybe get to those a little later in the video.
85.7% of 782 votes so far think that the game looks bad. Bro, that's embarrassing. Pokemon should be embarrassed. They should pull the plug on it and just cut their losses and restart, bro. This is embarrassing. It feels like I used to have a car that got me to work every day, and Pokemon stole my car, and they replaced it with a car that doesn't drive. This is there's symbolism happening right here.
So this is just funny because, yeah, like obviously Andrew is like his livelihood is attached to whether or not Pokemon online succeeds. Like he could potentially do tabletop with a secondary person, forever, like indefinitely, right? And that would kind of eliminate the need to have an online client, but he's just not there yet in terms of size. Like Andrew is the biggest Pokemon content creator, but like is peanuts compared to anyone else. So in terms of like the YouTube sphere of hierarchy or whatever, it's just crazy how little support there is for Pokemon. And that's like we all thought that Live was going to be our one shining moment, because we've been crapped on as a community for a long time. We've been absolutely crapped on, just as far back as I can remember, just various things like communication from the higher ups, product releases. I mean, that's a pretty recent thing and kind of out of people's control, but, various tournament snafus. Like there's just a long list of things where I look back and I'm like, that kind of stinks. That kind of stinks. That kind of stinks. And, this was supposed to be like our big break. Like, oh, finally we can kind of take that next leap into modernity with the Pokemon trading card game and give it a little bit more respect, give it a little bit more clout on the, trading card game stage. Because you look at Magic the Gathering players, content creators specifically, you look at Yu-Gi-Oh content creators, like there are multiple channels for each of those games that have, over 100,000 subscribers on YouTube, right? Like just looking at a pure numerical standpoint, like for some reason, people are more attracted to Magic and Yu-Gi-Oh than they are, and possibly even Hearthstone, than they are to Pokemon. And it's like, why? Why is that? Is it because we don't have a good online client? Because like people buy the cards, they just don't know how to play. So how do we get them there? And we all thought it was going to be PTCG Live. And the fact that, we can kind of already feel now, like basically from the start, since we got in, no one was really head over heels about the game. And we're kind of reaching that breaking point, led here by Andrew. So
Pokemon didn't steal my car. Okay. If the Pokemon company had done any market research, they would have seen that
I agree with this.
86% of users think that it looks like garbage. Okay.
And maybe they did do
out into the world that
maybe they did do market research. Like I just hate it. Like, because what if they did their market research on like employees' kids or something? I don't know. We don't know anything. Again, this might be people going with the flow, but you have to think that just overall, people are more negative than positive on TCG Live, just from an unbiased standpoint. But I'd like to get more unbiased people in on the conversation, but that's another topic.
86% of your user base will think is trash. It's not about the bugs. I don't care about the bugs. I'm not even talking about bugs. I'm talking about whether the game looks and feels fun to play. That has nothing to do with beta. because I'm asking if the game looks and feels fun to play. You should be able to tell that in full during the beta experience, right? Now, whoever's in charge of this project should pull a plug on it, let it cook for 3 more years, and start again later. This is like the Pokemon trading card game live is like directly negatively impacting my ability to create content. I think that they need to come to this realization and they need to do something about it. And frankly, I think that just cut your losses and start over. What do you have to do to let like the highest up people at Pokemon know that this is terrible? Like, what do you have to do?
I think that there at some level is, in the company are people looking at this and saying, yeah, this is not good, and they've kind of had to go along with it. So how do you make a statement? I mean, I'll try to put in the description here a way to, send your response, send your feedback. I know I've already done some feedback, sent some feedback out to people. We want it to be constructive. So, there are certainly things that I would change about the client. Andrew goes a little bit to the extreme and says, scrap the whole thing. I think potentially there are things you can do with it. I'll maybe get to that a little bit later in the video as well. But, I would offer some suggestions to how they can increase the enjoyability of the client. But let's go ahead. I'll talk about this later.
I don't have their phone number. So we're going to have to sit here on stream and scream about it because it's not okay. I don't know. Are we going to have to wait until it's in the App Store and it has a 1-star review? Is that what we're going to have to do? Is it already in the App Store with a 2.3-star review? That's what I'm saying. Like, at what point, like Pokemon, if you're creating something bad, just stop it. Like, stop it. Take the team, get a new team. I don't know. Buy an indie developer. Buy somebody who's already good at this.
I will say, Andrew hasn't been this passionate since I claimed that I created the 2019 Virginia Regionals winning deck.
Don't just keep dumping money into a failed project, dude. Like, do not do that. Like, buy an indie developer. Do literally anything else. The way that this has been managed so far has been a nightmare. Just can it and start over. I will gladly play the Pokemon trading card game online for another 3 years, okay, to wait for something good. I would so much rather do that. I think that the visuals are terrible. The game.
Andrew doesn't really know what he's saying here. I don't think. Maybe he can clarify for me. But 3 years, man, he's gonna be like 38. Like, I don't think. Maybe he's gonna be creating content at the same level. I think, if anything, he'll become like some kind of producer for Pokemon or something like that. I can't see him being here in the same situation for like 3 more years and then to like be able to give live a fair shake. But
game feels terrible to play. The avatars are embarrassing. It doesn't look or feel like a Pokemon project. It's a disaster. And look at this. I mean, this is like market research. Like, why am I doing the market research here on Twitter, right? Like, why am I showing that 86% of people think it looks like trash? Why? How did Pokemon not know this? Like, how does Pokemon not know that this is what the perception of their game is? Yeah, one usability study in this game never makes it out the door. That's what I'm saying. Like, if anybody did any sort of research on what people thought about this game, then this would have never happened. But instead, it's just like, who trusted that this was just going to be cool? Because here's the deal, is like, my future in this game is directly tied with this client. And my ability to create content is being basically whacked at the knees by the Pokemon company. It's like, instead of making my job cooler and easier, they're making it decidedly worse. I'm tired of pretending that it's just okay. So let's read the comments.
Great point. Again, really affects our ability to do content, like any content creator. So that makes it hard. I mean, I'm a positive person. I could get by with it. But the thing is that I don't see it growing the game. I think you guys would agree. You can leave a comment down below if you see, like, if you could ever see PTCG Live in its current state growing the game. I mean, it's all about the content creator at a certain point, but it's just harder for the content creator if the game doesn't match. So yeah, it's just so tough. It's so tough here, but Andrew's absolutely right. It's affecting every single content creator. And I mean, him especially. When you're at the top, man, it's the hardest. So,
not looking forward to the day PTCGO shut down. That's from Jesse. JW says 6 out of 10 for mobile desktop, 3 out of 10 for desktop. Feels like an acceptable mobile game. Not amazing. It does its job. I'm avoiding it as long as I can. That's
so. We know that I just want to clarify my comment to Andrew here is just it does work significantly better on the mobile or on the phone, and you guys should try it on the phone sometime. Again, this is kind of I don't know that Andrew's really played it on the phone. Not that it really matters, because again, it's about the look and the feel. The look and the feel still aren't there, but it's clearly a much better experience for mobile than it is for desktop. Am I a little generous with the 6 out of 10? You know, maybe, but it's a way different experience.
It's from Tablemon, another big content creator in the space. Still can't believe we're taking a step backwards from the Pokemon trading card game online with it. I can't imagine aesthetics are the reason anyone new tries it. Existing players will use it, and the easier crafting system probably keeps unsure players around longer. But newer players used to other clients, Pikachu's really counting on the sticking power of their IP. Yes. So this is one of my biggest criticisms of the Pokemon Trading Card Game Live. It does not actually look fun enough to engage any new users, right?
Yeah, that's my biggest criticism here
that's
too.
Just like the biggest problem with the client is that it looks so ugly that nobody who is not already interested in Pokemon cards will try it.
Well, and the interesting thing too is like the sticking power of their IP. Like they barely use any of their intellectual property in the game itself. Like there are whole screens. If you go to the character customization screen, like that whole screen literally has no Pokemon. Like you would not know it's a Pokemon game, which in my mind is absurd. It's like the hexagons are the main character of the game, when in fact it should be the Pokemon should be the main characters. Like the Pokemon should just be infused in the game, just from the top down, every screen, in my opinion. I don't know. I'm not a game designer. I'm not, just a designer period, bro. I make all my thumbnails and PowerPoint, so I don't really know what I'm talking about when it comes to like how things should look. But it just feels like, every other game you look at Unite, how much Pokemon crap is just fit into every screen on Unite, right? The video games, like, they're centered around the Pokemon. Like, even Magikarp Splash, like, what the heck? That's so chock full of Pokemon stuff. Like, all of these games, but for some reason TCG Live isn't, and it's like it's a big sore thumb. Like you compare it to other card games and like, yeah, it doesn't look the greatest, but then like you compare it to the Pokemon games and it also doesn't, it doesn't fit in with the ecosystem of the Pokemon games. It's crazy, man.
I can almost guarantee you that. And it's actively making my content worse to create because it looks worse on YouTube. Like, dude, if we head on over to this channel called Tricky Jim.
Hey, there's my face.
Gameplay just isn't fun to watch on the Pokemon Trading Card Game Live. The playfield is so hard to look at. Everything is so tiny. This new interface is a massive downgrade from the Pokemon Trading Card Game Online. They need to improve the design and improve the speed of the gameplay. Everyone complaining about how bad this new client looks, and they are right. They have so many great artists at Pokemon, and this just looks dull. TCG Live looks way worse compared to old version. Not gonna lie, I hate how lifeless this game looks. I think my biggest complaint so far has to be the avatars. They're really creepy and distracting.
I think we should stop talking about the avatars
screen.
for what it's worth.
I am 100% against the art style of this game. I'm honestly only watching it because it's Tricky Jim. Bro, I can't watch this live version. Deck looks good. Pokemon Trading Card Game Live still does not. Wow, this game user interface looks hideous and clunky. They should really take note from Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel. Love you, Tricky Jim, but the Pokemon Trading Card Game Live is just unwatchable. I can't stand the layout. It looks like a sign-in sheet at the doctor's office. So bland. Live looks like hot garbage. Really hoping they make improvements. TCG Live gameplay seems so much worse than the Pokemon Trading Card Game Online. It's hard to describe how much I hate the look of Live.
I think some of these comments are a little mob-esque. You know, it's like people piling on. I think, you can't, well, in my opinion, if you're going to make these comments, you can't just say it looks like trash. Like, what does that mean? Right? What does that mean? You can't just throw that. It looks like trash. It looks worse than PTCGO. Like, in what ways? How are you going to get that criticism out? For me, the way that it looks worse, it looks lifeless. Again, the hexagons are like the focal point of the entire client and not the Pokemon. Like, I don't get that. PTCGO had at least like the card as kind of the background of the symbol. And then PTCG Live has the literal hexagons as the symbol of the game. Like, it's crazy in that way. And then there's just so much blank space, right? There's just so much blank. I thought PTCGO had a lot of blank space. PTCG Live has just way more. So,
God, why
those are my
does
criticisms.
Pokemon Live look 100% worse than the Pokemon Trading Card Game Online? Jeez Louise, get rid of the flashing when taking a prize. Who makes these design decisions, man? Why is the old client so much better?
Well, in terms of like the flashbangs and just all these random crap, like somebody had to see that above and approve that and say like, yes, that's good. Like, they saw the whole process and they said, yeah, that looks really good. I do not get it. Flashbang is a huge one. I don't know, the cards like coming into your face and then going to the discard pile. I don't quite understand that. The way the hand is laid out, I don't really get that. Again, the use of the space is just kind of awkward. So I don't know how somebody looked at, like, because usually what you'll have in if they're doing like an agile or scrum development, right? They'll have their team of developers and then they'll have their product owner, and then the product owner tells the developers, okay, here's what you need to do, and then they'll take like a week or two or a month or whatever, figure it out, and then present it back to the product owner, and the product owner says like, yes, this is what I like, I don't like, let's adjust. And so they don't see that client for like a month or a couple weeks or whatever it is. And then I'm just surprised that they come back and they present it. And then the product owner is like, yeah, okay, that actually works, really well. I like how that looks. Green light, continue on. I don't know. It's very jarring.
This game looks like it was made by one guy who got 1 week to program this. Sad. OMG. There is no...
I will also say, if I could program PTCG Live in a week, bro, I would be making like 20 times as much as I am making now.
Reason why these avatars look so bad. Why not just use Pokemon trainers with swappable clothes? These are trash. Why the game looks so ugly? What happened? New update? Ew. That's just one video. That's one video. That's the first video. Like, that's just one video, dude. The reason I'm going in like this is because my future is directly correlated with this. Like, I am not going to shill this, dude. I'm not going to shill this. It's terrible, and Pokemon should be embarrassed because they're putting out a terrible product. Like, dude, and it's like, I'm fine with none. Just give us no new product. I'll keep doing PTCGO or whatever. Comparing it to other mobile...
I want a new client. I want a new client really bad. I think that, yeah, it's just so tough. I think for me, the thing is that the standard of Pokemon does not match the standard of this game. The standard of this game is very low. The bar is, very low for this game. I don't know what they were thinking, but the standards of the Pokemon Company, in my opinion, are very high for the most part. You can obviously point to little things. You can obviously, point to various issues like any company would have, but the standards of the artists that they hire for the cards, very high. The card quality on the whole is like very high, or they at least work on making it better. The standards from the judge staff, the standards from content creators in the space, like all very high. Just generally the Pokemon company, the quality of the people that they hire in the Pokemon Company that I know of, like very high. Like I just, it's very interesting. This game doesn't quite match up to the standard of Pokemon, and there's just a huge disconnect there.
Trading card games, it looks dreadful. Aesthetically, Hearthstone looked better when it released 8 years ago. Runeterra,
debatable. Again, you gotta say what do you mean it looks better? You can't just say it looks like when you're making these comments. Just I'm gonna say it out. Like, try to give a constructive criticism, not just say it looked better. Like, what looked better? What about the game felt better? Just I understand you're limited on Twitter. It's not the best place to be making these comments, but when you're out there on Twitter, try to make a little bit more than, it looked better. This sucks. It looks like trash. Like, what about it looks like trash?
A million times better in every aspect. Honestly, the Pokemon Trading Card Game Live looks like first-year projects I saw at university while studying game development. Azul, one of the biggest Pokemon Trading Card Game online, Pokemon Trading Card Game Live content creators, 10,000 followers on Twitter, recently tweeted, looks like the Pokemon Trading Card Game Live got thrown into a blender with the most recent update, so I'll be playing some Elden Ring today, and maybe Fortnite later. Trainer Chip Ritchie, an official Pokemon Trading Card Game commentator, and a good friend of mine, someone who was really shilling for the Pokemon Trading Card Game Live when it was first released.
Yeah.
The fact that this latest patch went live with so many obvious and glaring issues tells me that it wasn't really tested before it was pushed out, which is very concerning for the Pokemon Trading Card Game Live updates. Apparently in the newest update, the Pokemon Trading Card Game Live timer now starts counting down as soon as an action is done.
That's a bug.
You can even interact with your cards.
It's fine.
In this clip, I'm barely able to play my cards after my opponent's turn, and I actually lose a turn because of how long the Marnie animation takes. As we can see here by watching Chip. It's like, okay, so the timer is starting while
let's get through this a little bit.
Faster. Marnie,
this is not really a solid part of Andrew's argument, but this is a bug. That's fixable. That's fixable. Closing thoughts.
Boy. I think generally speaking, the Pokemon Trading Card Game Live is a huge failure and just needs to be restarted.
There you go. So restarted, maybe. I will say that there's just a lack of impact. Like, if we look at this screen, like, my biggest criticisms, there's a lack of impact. The hexagons are the main character, and there's so much dead space. And then my fourth criticism is that it doesn't accurately represent the card game. I want all the effects and different things to enhance the game, not detract from the game. I think Pokemon has amazing art, so I'm not really sure why they crop things. I guess that's in line with other card games, but even so, it just kind of doesn't make sense because Pokemon has this positional aspect where, cards can be confused or paralyzed, the status conditions and stuff, and like they have full art cards, but those get chopped off. I think from a design perspective, it doesn't really make sense. The impact of when you take a prize you actually like are disincentivized from taking a prize because then you just get bodied upside the head with the blue flashbang. There's a lot of things. I don't know if they need to be scrapped, but they definitely need to be addressed for sure. It's troubling times. This is going to hurt my content. What's the future for this channel? I mean, I think I kind of have to switch back to PTCGO. I was really hoping to give PTCG Live its fair shake. I really appreciated how it was much easier for me to get cards in that game. Now I'm going to have to waste a little bit more time. It's going to make my content a little bit harder, but it's a little bit better to watch. So that trade-off is probably good. Well, I know it's good, but it's just, I'm going to have to waste more time like getting the cards, which is tough. But in any case, am I hopeful for the future? It depends. I think Pokemon can very easily buy a game studio if they want to prioritize it. If they don't, like, I kind of understand, that they just don't really care about this. But we're also looking at what we will have for probably the next 10 years, right? It's not like it's not like they're going to push PTCG Live out and then they're going to say, oh, actually, like, we're developing a new game. Like, this is it. So if we don't say anything now, if we don't make our voice heard, and that's kind of the reason I'm making this video, if we don't make our voices heard now, this could be it for the next 10 years. And I've never felt closer to quitting the game than I have because of PTCG Live. And I can't believe I said that because I love Pokemon. I've been playing like my entire life. And the fact that I am like kind of just, it's ruining the experience of Pokemon for me in many ways. It's fine in certain ways. It's ruining in other ways. But the fact that is occurring it's really tough. So sorry to be a downer in this video. Hope you guys understand where I'm coming from. Please leave some comments down below on your thoughts. I'm sure I've heard all of your thoughts. Remember to be constructive when you make comments, because that is really important. Don't just yell into the ether as loud as you can. Just try to bring some value to your hate or your criticism. But that's going to be all for me today, guys. God bless. If I don't see you soon, I'll see you later. And remember, good luck and also have fun.